Welcome back, podcast fans. I'm your host, Annette Hines, and this is Parenting Impossible, the Special Needs Survival Podcast. We have such a great story today. I'm so excited. We have Annie Ray with us, and she is a music teacher with just so many great ideas, and she's doing things that are, I think, pretty unheard of in our community, and she's finding talent everywhere she goes. So I'm super excited to talk to her today. First got introduced to her from a story that ran in Disability Scoop, which was so nice. And I just love interviewing people on this podcast who had an idea and just ran with it. So, Annie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
So, first of all, I love your name. I'm also an Annie. Even though my name is Annette, I've always been Annie for the last, I don't even want to tell you how many years. So that's exciting in and of itself. The Annies just meeting. I don't meet too many people with that name, actually. So cool. And so first of all, just tell us what you do. What is your job?
I am the orchestra director at Annandale High School. I'm also the performing arts department chair. And I also work as a contractor for String Rise, which is an incredible organization that deals with not only supplying beginning string instruction instruments like cardboard box instruments for students, but also works on using music as a trauma therapy response. And I work on their disability sector, which is it's a great organization to be a part of.
So at the, before we pressed the record button, while we were waiting for the bell to ring at our school, I asked her, like, what led her down this path? Does she have somebody with a disability in her family? Where did this come about? And your answer was kind of surprising to me. So why don't you tell us how you got started on this path?
So I have the great honor of getting to teach an orchestra, in addition to my other sections of orchestra, for students with significant and severe disability. It's called Crescendo Orchestra. And it actually started back in 2018 when I had two twin brothers who were put into my general education orchestra. And I had a day where I was working with them and I felt like I was completely failing them, just completely failing them. And so I pulled them after class and I worked with them one-on-one, and I realized quickly that like I wasn't failing them. They actually knew everything that I was teaching them. They were just processing in a different way. And it was this very humbling moment where I realized I had so much to learn, and I was watching their face light up so much. And so we started this conversation of how can I have an orchestra working with students with significant severe disabilities. Okay, I played around with a couple things, but then COVID kind of stopped everything. Then in 2020, I was super pregnant and I was walking around the school, and Fairfax County Public Schools brought students with significant and severe disabilities back first to give them the supports that they need. And so I wandered down to their classes and I heard them and I was like, oh my gosh, there's people. And so during my planning period, I invited them down, the students down, and just showed them all the different instruments. And one student in particular, his name is Kevin. He was not happy to be there. He was pulled out of his routine. He was so angry. But then I started playing the cello for him. And he asked over and over if he could play. And so I said, okay, you can hold it. And he grabbed the bow in my hand and he started bowing back and forth. And his eyes started welling up with tears. And he loved it and he didn't want to leave. And so when we were planning my schedule for the following year, I had continued working with the students in our special education department, and just during my planning time, and presented a proposal to my principal to have this run as a full 80-minute course that meets every other day, just like all of my other classes. And he gave me the green light. And so I worked with with the special education team, who are the most phenomenal educators, and took their class slides and modified it for music. I worked with the instructional assistants, occupational therapists, general music teacher down the street, my mom, who's a general music teacher. And we came up with what is now Crescendo Orchestra. And it's been the most humbling and joyous class I've ever taught in my entire life. It's completely reshaped everything that I do as a music educator.
Wow. I mean, just wow. Like, that's such a quick outcome from 2020 to now to develop this program, and just knowing that you needed a team to do it. But also, you know what really touched me the most as a mom of someone with profound disabilities? You listen to your students and what they wanted to do. And that's such a person-centered approach to teaching. I know that there's so many amazing educators out there, but sometimes it's hard in the, time allotted and all of the goals and guidelines that you have to really just stop for a second and listen to what the needs are and try to shape things around what they're telling you. So that is what I love most about this story. And thank you for doing that. And also, you have a great team. You told me you have a principal who's so supportive. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm really lucky. I know that I kind of don't have the norm here. I have the supports that every music educator or teacher deserves, um, or needs to have, where I have a principal who really believes in the projects that I start going. And I wanted to go back to what you were saying, where it's a very student-centered approach and in-person centered, and it is, but Crescendo also has been one of the most freeing things for me as a music educator, because it's really been grounding me in what like music actually is all about. Like it's very easy to get wrapped up in our classically trained ear in music and what music is today. But when you really strip it down to the core of it, it's just about connecting. And it's about like that act of making music together. So it's been this really freeing thing for me, freeing of expectation. And every year Crescendo looks different. I redo the curriculum every year. I literally trash all the slides every year and I start over based on like who is in my classroom, and work with the my team that I have. And that's what I keep on laughing about is like this Grammy award that I won. It's
Mhm.
actually like my name is on it, but I'm like, this is not mine. Like this is like so many people. It's a team who deserve like to be highlighted and celebrated. But so I'm trying to really use the award as like an opportunity to be the voice for my students, or get to share the Annandale story.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
I do want to also say, like, and going back, like my program is actually not the only program that's like there out like this out there. There's so many different people's like spin and takes on it. And if anyone listening is want to start their own, a great starting point is to look into like Giving Bach or United Sound, are two great resources that are like kind of like plug and play and you can get going. But Crescendo is a little bit different because those are like kind of best buddy Special Olympic style, and this one is like very much in the school day, every other day. But there's several schools I know actually who are doing of this as well. So I want to give a shout out to them.
That's awesome. Can you say the name of those two programs again? Something
Giving Bach, like the
Giving
composer.
Bach. Okay.
And that one's more like conceptual, and then a United Sound, like you can purchase like a curriculum, and they can and if you reach out to like Julie Duty, their founder, she is so joyous with help and helping. She just wants every student to have these opportunities. And if you don't have like space in the schedule currently now, it's a great way to do like this after school where they do like a lot of peer mentorship. So her program is phenomenal. Mine is slightly different, but there are other schools out there who are doing very similar things to me. And it's one of those really cool things where it's like, wow, like music educators are really like coming together and like focusing on like what really matters. So it's a great direction to see that music education is going.
Especially at a time when school districts are really being squeezed financially and are facing challenges and making cuts to things that are not core curriculum. It's so nice to see that your program's actually growing and that people are interested in something besides sports for extracurricular activities. Not that sports are bad, but students have a wide range of interests, and it's important to be able to, you know, encourage those interests and exploration.
Well, exactly. And I've made the argument over and over again that like the arts in general need to be a core subject. And it's because it teaches so much more than the notes and rhythms on the page. And we see that like very much exemplified like in the crescendo classroom. It's so much more than like learning how to be the next yo-yo mom. Like none of us are trying to do that. We're just trying to create like good people and connecting on like a different plane that they're not able to in any other way. And it teaches so beyond that. And a great example and a great kind of like small advocacy thing that I do is no matter where my students graduate and go to, whether it's like our Pulley Career Center, which is for like where a lot of our crescendo students graduate and go on to, or a student that goes in the Army, or a traditional like university route, or even like a gap year, I'll purchase like a pennant and I'll make like a custom one for those who are going like wherever they're going, and
Yeah.
I hang it up in my classroom. And every student has their own journey, but I'm pointing out this one in particular because people are so focused on STEM right now. I have a student who went to MIT. She got a full ride scholarship and she wrote her essay about orchestra, which is a very unique thing. People don't realize like staying with something for 4 years and showing mastery of something and perseverance for something
Yeah.
actually looks better to universities than these little dabbling around of like a computer science class here or blah, 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 because they're going to reteach you that all anyway in college. But it shows like this unique sense of persistence and ability to commit to something and own something that is like
Mhm.
very rare in this generation of students.
And we know we've heard such great stories and information about how music really impacts the brain growth. So tell us a little bit about how music can really, focus people on other types of learning.
I mean, it goes so beyond. Like, there's all these like facts and figures that we like throw out. Like, people who are in music score like so many number of points higher on the SAT, or they
Mhm.
like or they're more likely to have higher math scores or English scores. Like, we throw these figures out all the time, and it's something like we focus on right now because March is Music in Our Schools Month. But it's even more than that. Like, it teaches a student perseverance and how to sit with not being good at something right away, which is like
Mhm.
something students are really terrified of. And they have to do it loudly, they have to do
Oh,
it
good.
boldly. This is not something that you can like hide on like a math sheet. Like, you can't like just redo it privately over and over again. You have to learn
Mm.
how to like own that and like have confidence in that. And that's again like one of the things with Crescendo Orchestra that's so beautiful is like, and why it's so joyous to me is that they're not afraid to try. They're not
Mhm.
afraid to just go for it and like and laugh. And I have one student, every time he makes a big honking sound, he goes and he just starts giggling to himself, and it's the best thing in the world. I'm like, yes, celebrate that. We're gonna okay, and we'll try again. And they have and this beautiful perseverance of of why music matters so
Mhm.
much. And like the process to like learning a musical instrument is so humbling. It's so humbling, but anybody can experience that like sacrifice to like play the notes, whether you're a parent who like believes that they have no bone in their body, like musical bone in their body. They can do it too. And that's actually why like my parent orchestra developed, was because of that very reason of like a parent being like, oh, I don't know where my kid got their talent from. I don't have a
Yeah.
musical bone in my body. I'm like, actually everyone does. It's like a very innately human thing. Like, it's only we do this. So
Right.
yeah, that's why I kind of developed, and also because I saw a parent like rage post on Facebook, like be like, oh, Jimmy brought home the violin for the first time today, better get out the earplugs. I'm like, man, that is so demotivating. Why would your kid ever want to get good at that if you're already telling them that they're not?
Oh,
um
wow. That's great insight.
yeah.
And so you started a parent orchestra, and do you get a lot of parents who commit the time to doing this? I mean,
I have over 200.
oh my God.
I have
So,
over 200. So that
I always say on this podcast that parents have to not just tell their kids what to do, but they have to model for them. So, committing to getting good at something and learning something new, what a great role model you're playing for your kid, That's amazing. I don't
yeah.
I don't know if I would have done that. I mean, I think I would have felt as my daughter was growing up just so inundated with all the day-to-day things, but it must be very freeing for a lot of parents to be able to take, whatever time out of their week to do this.
Yeah, so we meet twice a month for 1 hour in the evenings. And it's modeled after the parent, student, teacher, Suzuki triangle concept, where like,
Mhm.
this idea originally comes from my mentor, Brian Coatney. And he has a small program in Texas, and it kind of just exploded up here. It started in 2018 with 15 parents, and now we have over 200, like with a wait list. We have 4 different kinds of classes, and it's
Wow.
teachers volunteering their time because we understand the importance of this. And it's really interesting that you brought that up of parents dedicating their time, because we just had some school board members come and visit, and some parents shared about what Parent Orchestra was to them. And phrases that they said was, "This is the only thing that I do for myself. This is the only thing that I
Mhm.
do for myself. This is the first time in a long time my child and I have gotten to like really sit and talk with each other, because now my child's expert in teaching me." And then
Right.
another parent said like, "I'm so lucky to have the opportunity to model to my child
Mhm.
what perseverance looks like and
Yeah.
dedication to something." Or my student doesn't want to practice, but I'll be like, "Okay, I'm gonna go practice. I'm gonna go spend some time." And the next thing you know, she's like down there with me practicing along with me. Um,
Right.
and it's like such like a multifaceted thing. And back to my original story about like why Crescendo started in the first place. The mother of those twin boys came and joined Parent Orchestra for multiple years, and she was there and learning. She was like, "Oh, I see why my son does this way now. I see why he feels uncomfortable at playing the violin. Maybe we play a different instrument that's away from his ear instead of the violin. Maybe we play a cello. Maybe we play something that's like further away from the body." So if you like look at a lot of my Crescendo Orchestra students, you'll notice like a lot of them play cello or bass, and it's for sensory reasons. Like it's moved
Yeah.
away from their ear, or like I'll have a student on the bass because we're doing macro movements instead of micro movements, like larger movements instead of like fine um, detail movements. But that's like the whole point of it is like, let's just open ourselves to music and connecting with our kids and connecting with um things when it's really hard to right now, like especially when there's so many screens around, right? We have TikTok that's
Mhm.
just like absorbing kids full attention. Let's I'm so lucky as in the position I am that I don't deal with phones nearly as much as a normal teacher, because they can't be on their phones if they're playing.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
So we
I
just play
love
and
it.
we just play and we just play and we just play.
And what a great way too to have parents really connect with the school as a whole, just to be part of something that their kids are doing. And, sometimes we feel like we drop our kids off at school and then they come home and we don't have really any connection to what's going on with them all day long. So nice.
But even better than that, Fairfax County Public Schools is, I think, the 8th largest school district in the entire country, which means it's massive. So this is open to the whole county. So we have parents from some of the richest portions of our county, like the most wealthy and well-off areas, to places like from Annandale, which are some of like the poorest. And it's all of these people connecting who would have never met
Mm.
before because they run such different places. And like our entire base section and all of the groups all go out for like dinner or adult beverages after
Mhm.
every class, and they just have made friends and people who would have never ever come together otherwise. And it's created this beautiful perspective of like how diverse our needs are in this county.
How are you making it accessible to folks who are less well off and struggling financially?
Well, our class is completely free. So we donate our time as teachers to do this because we're very passionate about it. And I'm very thankful for my team of teachers who have given their time. It could not happen without them. Like it only began and it has run because of them. Um, but Fairfax County Public Schools, man, I'm so lucky to teach here. They have an instrument program called the Instruments for All. And any student that qualifies for free or reduced lunch gets a quality instrument, very emphasizing quality,
Mhm.
for only $20 rental for the whole year. And for the parents, if you're asking like what instruments are they playing on, they're playing on their kids' instrument. So we have some parents who are on fractional instruments until they decide to go get their own. But that was actually part of the point too, where we tell them, please do play on your kid's instrument because you need to see why having a quality instrument is important. Like if we have an instrument that might not be set up the best, you can see those frustrations, like why those frustrations occur of like why a kid might quit, of like, oh, that actually hurts because the strings are too far off the fingerboard. Or, wow, I need to have a appropriate size instrument because I can't reach the techniques that I need to, or man, this bow like is not balanced correctly and I can't make a good tone as a result.
Oh,
So it became it's so much more than just like come and learn an instrument. It's such a big
yeah.
advocacy piece and educational piece for what our class is really doing.
Okay. So now I have to ask you about the Grammy. Yes,
Yes.
audience, you heard us right. She mentioned it a little earlier. She won a Grammy Award. Tell us about that. What a moment in life, right?
So unexpected too. Um, I was so kindly nominated by two of my colleagues over the past couple of years. And um, man, that actually nomination actually meant even more to me, like than just the award, to have my colleagues think highly of me, and to put me out there. And then there's like a video cycle process, and I was just so sick because I was pregnant with my second. I had these reoccurring sinus infections. I was just miserable. And so we were going through the application process, and I pulled just a couple students aside because I tend to keep my personal and professional life very separate, or what I'm doing professionally outside of the building, very separate from the students. And I just told a couple of them, I said, hey, I'm going through this Grammy process. I don't have it in me to make these videos right now. I'm not feeling very well. Like, would you be willing to help? And so I had a couple students who made a video telling the story about what Annandale is and who I am. And that is a video I will treasure forever because of the words that they said. And it was also a very amazing moment to me because I was like, man, they got it. Like my whole purpose of doing music, like it's working, like they get it. And it's about like being a part of something so much bigger than yourselves, and just connecting, whether you are a virtuosic player or somebody who, like I said, is just this is not my phrase, but playing the essence of the notes. Like no matter what you are, you're an important contributor to our orchestras. And so they got it. And they like put it out there, and they had me do a little voiceover here and there, and they caught a video of me like dancing in class because I'm super goofy when I teach. And so that was like a portion of it. And next thing I know, like I'm just going through the process and doing all the things that they're asking me to do the Grammy Awards. And next thing I know, I'm getting a call that I won. And
Wow.
I was like, are you sure? um, the media is really telling the story of Crescendo Orchestra, which is beautiful. And oh my gosh, am I so honored that they're getting the spotlight that they deserve. But
Yeah.
it was actually only a small portion of the video, because the bigger story is actually, and the big story is like of meeting every student where they're at. So Annandale, I don't know if this is 100% true. I was told this the other day, but 3 years ago we were ranked the #1 most diverse school in the entire country. And so we have students who are refugees. We have students who just immigrated. We have students whose parents immigrated before they were born. We have kids who have been here their whole lives. And we have kids facing extreme trauma. And it means like, how do we change music education, or just education in general, from a very like push button like box thing to what does that mean to adjust that? And Annandale as a whole, every teacher here does that, like really emphasizes seeing the whole student in these really deep meaningful relationships, and like being a warm demander of like, I'm going to meet you where you're at, but I'm going to pull you up. I'm going to pull you so far up, farther than you ever believed you could, if you just come with me, just connect with me. So just having that opportunity on the Grammy stage to share with so many wonderful people like yourselves, like why Annandale is the coolest place in the world to teach, has been just a huge honor for me.
I really like moved to tears over this, honestly. My daughter loved music, and it was so meaningful to her. And she had the best music teacher at Perkins School for the Blind who just totally got her. So this is really, really hitting home for me. And you gave a TEDx talk too. What was that like? That terrifies me, actually.
Well, so I'm a professional performer outside of school. Like I still gig very extensively on my harp. So I've been playing since I was very young. But and I tell my students this, like I get nervous still, like especially with those things. But to to talk to people actually has not been as nerve-wracking because I'm not sharing my story, but I'm sharing my student's story.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that I'm doing that justice. And I have to say this over and over again, like, especially in music education, we're all about like lineage, like who did you learn from, like who is your mentors? And there's so many times I'm like, this award like belongs to like Dennis and Brian, or like all of these people who have been helping me, or these students, because I'm just happened to have had all these like things that like fell into the right place. But you said it before, like your daughter had like a music educator that was so deeply impactful. And there's music educators everywhere who are doing this incredible work that deserve to be highlighted equally. And that's what my TEDx talk was about. So when you watch it, like you think it's initially about Crescendo Orchestra, and it is, because I'm using that as the vehicle to tell the story, because they embody that whole thing about why music matters so much. But it's actually an advocacy piece about how the best the best educators right now are in these music classrooms. And we're talking all the time, these buzzwords of being like, meeting the students where they're at, being a warm demander, scaffolding, doing all this, giving up feedback constantly. Us music educators have been doing this for years. Like it's
Yes.
just built into our curriculum. And I truly believe that the education system has so much to learn from us if they were to just respect what we do and come and learn from us. And I said before, and I'll say it again, my principal is the most supportive man in the world. Like I'm so lucky to have him. But in our staff meetings, he has never asked me to ever share with the staff how I teach my classes. And that comes from him not having a great musical experience. He did not have a great musical experience, and he never got to see that. He understands the sport and understands the importance of it, and he's understanding more and more, but he doesn't realize exactly like how it connects to everyone else. I'm so excited. I'm about to speak and do a keynote at the ASCD conference, which is for over 5,000 educators and principals and superintendents. And it just shows like where education's leading, where these people who are very highly revered in the education system are saying, can you share your story now? Can you teach everybody about what music education is? And I'm so excited to have that platform now to be like, let me tell you about why some of the best teaching is happening in my class, in our classrooms right now.
That is so profound, truly. Well, it has really been an honor getting to know you. I'm so excited for you and your students. They must be over the moon about all of this. I mean, it's exciting for any young person to have their accomplishments highlighted. And I'm so glad that you share the stage with them and allow them to be front and center for everything that you do.
Well, it's it's their award. I just happen to be the person that is lucky enough that gets to sit there and teach them and have gotten the chance to slow down and just listen and bring it to everyone else. But people who are listening, like, please, if you're a music educator, please consider starting your own United Sound chapter. Please advocate for equality in music education and access in music education. Every student has the right and the ability to learn, and not just learn in the capacity of like being around peers and being thrown into just a general education classroom where their supports are not going to be necessarily given, but specific tailored instruction. Every student deserves that. So please consider starting your own program, whatever that looks like for your school with the resources you have.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inspiring everybody out there to, just take what they've got and run with it. And again, this person-centered approach should be leading, not, an afterthought, not a side note in everybody's education. So Annie, such a pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.